Hi, I'm Claire Ridgway of the Anne Boleyn Files and the Tudor Society. Now I'm here today to invite you to come and join Philippa and myself on the Anne Boleyn Experience 2019, which is in May 2019. And it's an Anne Boleyn focus tour. It really is, well, it's my dream trip as an Anne Boleyn fanatic. And I think fanatic really is the word to describe me. So if you love Anne Boleyn too, I'm sure you'll be interested in this trip. And I'll give you a link in the description for this video where you can find out more about the tour. But Tim has just asked me what are my sort of best memories of previous Anne Boleyn Experience tours. Now, you know me, well, you probably do know me. I could go on forever talking about things like this. I could probably write a book of my memories of the Anne Boleyn Experience because I have so many best memories. I find it very hard to pick a few. One of my very best memories came from this year's Anne Boleyn Experience tour, because rather than just being a leader on the tour, which I normally am, I actually spoke on this tour. I was one of the guest speakers. And it was while I was standing there at the castle I spoke about George Boleyn and the other men of 1536, because we'd already had a speaker talking about Anne Boleyn, and obviously Anne Boleyn was kind of everywhere that tour. But I just wanted to remind people that Anne Boleyn wasn't the only victim of 1536. So I talked about her brother George and the other men who fell with Anne in May 1536 and who lost their lives. And I got very choked up talking about them because of the atmosphere. I was talking to people who were as fascinated as I was in the subject, but it suddenly dawned on me that I was speaking at Hever Castle about George Boleyn and the fall of Anne Boleyn, and it just moved me for a moment. And I got to the poem that is said to have been written by George, because we know he was a very talented poet. And I actually asked, because I'm not very good at reading poetry, I actually asked tour participant Jenny to come up and read it, because she's got an amazing presence. I mean, she definitely trod the boards. She's got such a kind of Shakespearean sort of powerful voice. And she came up and read that poem, and I just could have collapsed in tears if I hadn't been actually the speaker, because it was just so moving. So that was a real pinch me moment when it all just suddenly came together, suddenly sort of dawned on me what I was doing and where I was doing it. Another pinch me moment was eating in the main castle dining room. I've done that a couple of times in the past. We're repeating that experience in next year's tour. And it's just amazing because you've got Henry VIII's lock on one of the doors of the main castle dining room. It's a lock that Henry VIII took from place to place so that he could feel secure. So you've got that. You've got suits of armour, you've got portraits, you've got tapestries, you've got the minstrels gallery sort of above you. You've got a fire lit. It gets a little bit hot if you're near it. Just the atmosphere. You're in the Boleyn family home, you're in a historic place, you're in a castle, and you're dining. And what's more, you're dining with people who are just as awestruck as you are. So that's an amazing experience. Just actually staying at the castle as well. You're staying in the grounds of the castle. You're staying in the Astor Wing, which we have exclusive use of. And just simple things like opening your curtains in the morning, getting ready for the day ahead, opening your curtains, and wham, bam, there in front of you is Hever Castle. You might have a view sort of over the grounds. You might have a view of just the castle sort of roof, or you might have, you've got Hever Castle in front of you. And that's a pinch me moment as well. You just suddenly realise where you are. Touching the walls, I said this in my previous video, you really get to walk in Anne Boleyn's footsteps. And for me, I just like the physical thing of touching those stone walls and just imagining, Anne touching that same bit with her hand, or George touching it, or Thomas, or Elizabeth, or Mary, or, just touching something that someone, those hundreds of years ago, someone that's important to me could have touched as well. And then when we go upstairs, there are the beautiful leaded windows looking over the inner courtyard. And it's beautiful. You're looking through these leaded windows, but then you're suddenly struck by the fact that Genevieve Bujold also leant out of those windows in that amazing film, Anne of the Thousand Days. So I loved reliving that moment. I told you that I've got quite a lot of best memories. I can't pick 2 or 3. Another best memory for me is visiting St. Peter's Church at Hever. It's something that a lot of visitors miss out entirely, and yet it's there on the green outside Hever Castle. Sorry, that's just my dog having a bit of a shake. It's an important church because we believe it's where the Boleyn family worshipped. It's a place that Anne would have known well, and it's where her father Thomas Boleyn is buried, and he's got a magnificent tomb there. It's supposed to be one of the best monumental brasses in England, and it's on top of his tomb. But also just looking down at the floor in there, there's this tiny cross, and it's to Henry Boleyn, who we believe was, he was definitely brother of Anne Boleyn. We know that. It says he was son of Sir Thomas Boleyn on the monumental brass. But we believe he died in infancy because that kind of cross was used for children's graves. And so that's a very poignant moment when you see the magnificent brass and tomb of Thomas Boleyn's resting place, and then you just look down at the floor and there's little Henry Boleyn's cross. And so I always find it very poignant going to the church and just looking round and thinking this is where the Boleyns worship, but also the resting place of 2 of them. Another best memory, and this is sort of encapsulates lots of best memories. Staying up late and talking Tudor. I always tell myself that I ought to go to bed a bit earlier because I've got to prepare for the next day, but I've also got to do my diary entry for Anne Boleyn Files followers and Tudor Society followers. Got to write my blog for the day. Oh, I never end up going to bed early because it's just wonderful, just sat up late in the music room at Hever, just sat there having a nice drink, having a tipple and talking Tudor, because in my house, my children don't want to talk Tudor. Tim, I've managed to indoctrinate him, but he doesn't want to talk Tudor with me. So going to Hever, staying up late and talking Tudor with people whose eyes don't glaze over and who want to talk about it as much as me is just absolutely fantastic. So yes, staying up late. And then just walking around the grounds and just getting lost in the gardens. I know, as I said in my previous video, they're not the gardens that Anne would have known. They were done by the Astles. They were landscaped by the Astles. The lake was done by the Astles. But it's just so beautiful and so peaceful, and just walking around the grounds and then looking over at the castle and just reminding myself where I am. So yes, I just love the bliss of walking in the grounds. And yeah, just the friends I've made as well. I've made so many friends by running the Anne Boleyn experience, and Philippa and I made so many friends doing it the May just gone. You stay in touch because you shared this dream together. I mean, it's some people's bucket list. It's some people's, dream vacation. There's lots of different reasons people go on it. And you shared that dream with them. And you make connections with people because immediately you're connected to them anyway, because you've got this shared interest in Anne Boleyn. So, that helps with, connecting and making friendships. But, you do make lifelong friends. So I've enjoyed getting to know people and also answering questions and being challenged by people at times as well. What are my views on this and that? And, having to rack my brains at certain points for dates and places and names and just, you can tell I've had some Anne Boleyn fun, Tudor fun. So lots of best moments, lots of best memories. And that's me cutting it down to video size. I could write a book on it. So I hope you've enjoyed my sort of trip down memory lane. And I just hope that you'll also be part of my memories in the future as well. And I'll be part of yours, because I hope that you will come on the Anne Boleyn experience and that I'll finally be able to put a face to your name, because I correspond with so many people and it's just wonderful when I finally meet them, because I can just give them a massive hug. So I really hope that we can meet and that you can join Philippa and I on the Anne Boleyn experience. Take care. Bye bye.